the use of all my treatments here if I don't even know what happens at death and what happens afterwards? So and then I left my profession and gave up everything and traveled the world looking for the answers to these questions. And then Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, so many powerful verses there. And I thought, that's it, I finally found it. I was looking for it for so long. Yeah, we like to make so many arrangements how to live nicely, but actually we should make some arrangements how to die nicely. Yeah. And if we make arrangements how to die nicely, then we don't only die nicely, we also live nicely too, because that's Krishna consciousness, it's the essence, meeting death with joy. But if we only think of living nicely, we miss out. We don't live nicely and we don't die nicely. And there is so much fear of death. And fear is always a sign of ignorance. Yeah. When there is ignorance, then we are afraid. But we will discover that as we actually confront ourselves and we get deeper insights into the topic, we lose our fear of death. We realize, actually, it's not such a horrifying thing. We've done it so many times already. We just don't remember. But yeah, we've been through it so many times. Yes. So I like to see death simply as a mysterious transformation, a journey into an unknown service situation. That's what it is for me. Because I think we can be sure that if we dedicate a good portion of our life to this process of Krishna consciousness, in our next life, that's what Krishna and Prabhupada promised, we will continue where we left off in this life. So we will again find the devotees. Get an association, get the opportunity to associate, to serve the Lord, His devotees. That is pretty much guaranteed, I would say. Yeah. Of course, we still have that little independence to decide otherwise, but yeah, we will get a chance. Usually we take birth in a devotee family and we continue our journey. That's what it says in the Shastra. So it's not so horrifying. Yeah, it really isn't actually. I've accompanied quite a few personalities in these last 2 or 3 weeks, and this gives so much realization, and you actually lose your fear, especially if you witness a few persons who leave in such a glorious and focused way, fearless, no medication, no morphine, nothing. You really realize, not so horrifying. We just have to prepare. That's the whole thing, Yes. The more we prepare, meaning the preparation is to deepen our relationship with the Lord. That's the preparation. And it's interesting to see a devotee and a non-devotee, they actually approach this topic of death in a very different mood. For a non-devotee, it is the most horrifying, the most unwanted, the most ghastly moment. Yeah. So much fear, so much ignorance. That is because we identify so much with the body. And especially in the Western world, there is no knowledge of the science of the soul. So people, in Europe at least, and I'm sure here in America too, if you ask people what's happening after death, people think it's all finished, we just dissolve into nothing. You know? This is nonsense. You know? We as the soul, we continue our journey from lifetime to lifetime. It's going on. Once you know that, you just get a different dress. You know, like Bhagavad Gita 2:22, it says, we leave the old and useless dress behind and we accept a new set of clothes. So we all have that experience from pants and jeans. You know, it gets to the point, okay, let's chuck it. It's getting too old. Or vehicle, you know, you drive a car and you nicely repair it and service it. But then you get to a point where this breaks down, that breaks down, the other thing breaks down. Not worth it. Alright, let's get rid of it, let's get a new one. So same thing is there with the body. You know, at a certain moment, either due to old age or accident or disease, body becomes useless. Okay, let's get rid of it. And if we really want to stay here, we get another body, no problem, you know. And the point is, we can only get out of this material world if our relationship with Krishna is the most important relationship for us in this world. So death is basically the test, where we are tested which personality, which relationship is most important to us. Is it with Krishna, really? Or is it with my husband, wife, children, grandchildren, dog, cat? Does that? Well, if there's any relationship which is more important than our relationship with Krishna, we have to come back. We have to finish that more important business. That's the science of the soul. That's how it works. Whether we believe it or not. That's why Krishna says in 8:5, Bhagavad Gita, so, if you remember me alone, Krishna says, then you will reach my abode of this, there's no doubt. So it's Krishna alone. And that is not so easy. Yes. That requires serious preparation. Especially in India, sometimes people think, well, now I'm young. This Hare Krishna, Hare Ram thing is for when I'm old. Now let me enjoy life. But, well, it's a lifetime of preparation to remember Krishna alone. And apart from that, we don't know when the moment comes. It often happens at young age. Just here when I had my book table, I spoke to one person who shared how his son left his body when he was 20. Yes, an accident, so many things happen, we just don't know how much time we have. Yeah, that's the reality. And if we lie on our deathbed, lamenting, oh, I didn't see my granddaughter getting married, what a shame. Well, we may have to come back just to see that, how the granddaughter gets married, you know. Yeah, so I'm not so sure if it's all worthwhile, you know, the whole trouble and miseries and what we're all experiencing here, you know, to do it all one more time just to see the granddaughter getting married. No, not worth it. So let's quickly understand what is happening at this moment. So we may know the soul is covered by the gross body, made from earth, water, fire, air, ether. And there's the subtle body, made from mind, intelligence, and false ego. So at the moment of death, the soul leaves behind this rose dead useless shell, and the subtle body takes the soul to the next destination, according to our attachments, desires, impressions, experiences, which are all stored in the subtle body. That determines our next destination. And of course also laws of karma, what kind of activities we perform, sinful or pious, and so on. So it's quite an intricate thing. But that's basically how it works. So, if we want to get out of this world, we have to completely spiritualize and transform the subtle body of mind, intelligence, thoughts, ego. All the material aspects have to be completely replaced with spiritual desires, impressions, experiences, attachments. And that's quite a big job. That's quite a big job. Because the subtle body has accompanied us for so many lifetimes. There's so much information stored there. And that all has to be transformed and spiritualized. That's why the process of Bhakti very much targets the subtle body. That's why Krishna always says, fix your mind on me, remember me, and never forget me, and focus on me, always serve me, worship me. So this all helps to spiritualize the subtle body. That's why we have to be absorbed in serving Krishna, hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, chanting His holy name. That absorption, that transforms the soul body. And I dare say, this may be a journey over several lifetimes for most of us. In this regard, I do want to share a little interesting story, not from the Shastra, but from modern days of ISKCON. Maybe some of you have heard it. This is the story about Raghava. You know the story about Raghava? No? He was a disciple of Prabhupada. He was in a British body, British man's body, and he lived in London. And he was a book distributor and traveling throughout the week on book distribution in Harinam. And on the weekends he came back to the temple and served in the kitchen. And it so happened that one day they had a car accident on the way back to the temple, and Raghava left his body pretty much immediately. And of course the devotees were bewildered. They wrote a message to Prabhupada, not message but letter. Raghava left his body. So of course Prabhupada was not bewildered. He saw things from spiritual vision. And he simply said, that's okay, he will continue in his next life. So and please conduct a memorial ceremony for him and chant and serve prasad. There's still in the database you can find that letter. So, and that's exactly what happened. The soul, which was in Raghava body, took birth in an Indian mataji's body, also in London. Her name is Ratnavali Devi Dasi. She is an initiated disciple of His Holiness Bhakti True Swami Maharaj, who is also not amongst us anymore, but I knew him also well. And through astrology, you can prove that this is the same soul. Yeah, don't ask me how, I'm not an astrologer. If you Google Raghava and Ratnavali, you will find the whole story, but please no need now. You can do it So, and also, Ratnavali Mataji, she took birth in a Vaishnava family. So right from small age, she was so attracted to Krishna consciousness. And then when she got a little older, she had reoccurring dreams where she saw all kinds of episodes from her life as Raghava. So sometimes when we have the same dreams coming again and again, this can very easily relate to something in previous lives. And also in London, Bhaktivedanta Manor, there's many Prabhupada disciples who knew Raghava. Actually, last time when I visited the manor, I spoke to the driver who had the accident. He didn't leave his body, he's still about, he's still coming to the temple. So we were talking about the whole story. So every time when Ratnavali Mataji, she's now a grown-up person, whenever she meets devotees who knew Raghava, she has this feeling, we know each other. Yes. We may also have that experience that we meet somebody for the first time, but immediately we click and we have the feeling we know each other for ages. So that can very easily go back to previous life. And also in London, there's one Prabhupada disciple who knows the art of putting people under hypnosis. Hypnosis, regression, you can remember your previous life. And Ratnavali Mataji did this, and she remembered so many things from her life as Raghava. So meanwhile, this is an established fact in ISKCON that Ratnavali Mataji was Raghava in her previous life. By the way, before I forget, I don't recommend to dig back into your previous life because it can be very confusing. There's a reason why Krishna usually lets us forget it. So, then we get all confused. Oh, am I Raghava or Ratnavali? And no, actually I'm a brahmachari, and so on. So, it's enough to deal with one set of upadhis, of false designations. So, more than one set will confuse us, just to make sure. So anyway, so when Bhakti Swami heard the story the first time of his disciple, he asked her a question. What do you think, what would be the most obvious thing to ask? Any suggestions?
Who did he ask?
He asked Ratnavali Mataji a question when he heard that she was Raghava in previous life. He asked her a question. What would be the most obvious thing to ask?
Maybe the experience when she left the body. What was the experience when the soul left her body? The journey of soul.
Close, but not precise enough.
How did he choose the next life?
Well, what happened? Before you were in a British man's body, and now you're in Indian Mataji's body. How the hell did that happen? What did you think of at the moment of death? Right? That's a pretty obvious thing to ask. So Ratnavali Mataji researched this a little bit. She asked all different devotees about Raghava's life, and then they remembered, oh yes, so during the week he was traveling on Sankirtan. When he came back, he was serving in the kitchen, and there was an Indian Mataji serving in the kitchen also. So now some of you are smiling, and probably you're thinking, oh, so he must have had some attraction to her, maybe some love affair or something. But no, Raghava was a very strict brahmachari. He didn't allow himself to get attracted to women. It was the opposite. They were always quarreling a little bit there. There was some tension there. And that was enough for Raghava to come back in an Indian Mataji's body. So we know that attraction and aversion are the two sides of the same coin. Not only do we have to overcome our attractions, but our aversions also. That's something we don't so easily remember, right? Because if we are averse to something, it's also a kind of an material attachment, the attachment of being averse, right? That's also a material aspect in the mind there. You know, we can't enter the spiritual world with aversions. Not possible, you know? Yes. So, yeah, so subtle. So just that little aversion to this Indian lady who was serving in the kitchen, that made him come back. Wow. I mean, when I heard this story first time about 20 years ago or something, this really hit me, you know? It really brings Krishna knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, it brings it to life. This is how it's going to happen. Whether we believe it or not, doesn't matter. It's not that it only happens like this to Hindus or Vaishnavas, no, to anybody. Whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, doesn't matter. That's the law of nature, that's how it goes. Yeah. Yes, so now one other interesting thing is, oh by the way, Ratnavali Mataji, she also had a meeting with this lady who served in the kitchen when she was in Raghava's body. I don't know anything about that meeting, but it must have been quite an interesting meeting. You imagine, you meet the person who you were serving in previous life in the kitchen together, and who you were quarreling and having some tension, some aversion to, and therefore you're back in a Indian woman's body. My goodness. But now one interesting thing is that Ratnavali Mataji, she has some birthmarks. One birthmark on the forehead, one birthmark across the belly. And I remember before I met Krishna consciousness, as I said, I was working in the medical field, and for some time I was treating early born babies. Through reflexes you can enhance their development, you know. And I was in the hospital there, having this whole big box of early born babies lined up in front of me. And there was one baby with birthmarks. And I was always inquisitive. I immediately noticed that I thought this cannot be by chance. You know, one baby has birthmarks, other ones don't. There must be some reason. So I asked some senior professor there, why does this baby have birthmarks? And his answer was, babies have these things, nobody knows. That was his answer. But we can give a better answer. So, my question to you, what are these birthmarks?
The accidental of vibrator proteins.
Yeah. So Raghava, exactly on that place, had the injuries in the accident. He had this this trauma on their head, trauma across the belly. Yeah, exactly that point. So, what happens is, if we leave our body with a traumatic impact, then the mind thinks, oh my head, oh my belly. And the subtle body of mind intelligence for the ego takes the soul to the next mother's womb. And all along that contemplation is there. Oh my head, oh my belly. And that forms birthmarks already in the mother's womb. Wow, isn't that amazing? That's a medical proof how the soul transmigrates, with the subtle body. Quite amazing. So of course we know Joe also faced an accident, but from what I have heard, he actually had a heart failure. Yeah. Yeah. Devotees told me that witnesses of the accident saw that this car was going as if nobody was in there. It was just boom, shooting off. So he actually left his body before he didn't leave through the accident. Yeah. So, that's, I think, for me personally, it's some reassurance that he didn't leave his body with that traumatic impact of accident. Otherwise, he would have slammed on the brakes or something and he wouldn't have gone all over the place there. But he must have left his body before Krishna took him. And then just for us externally, it looks like, oh, he left in the accident or something. So Krishna has his ways how to take us. But these birthmarks, this is quite an interesting thing. This is really a medical proof. The doctors can't explain it. But meanwhile, there has been some research done. Even non-devotee doctors, they have gone to Asian countries where the understanding is there that you have more than one life, and they found some kids with birthmarks and they researched and tracked things back. And sometimes when children are very small, when they can just talk, they sometimes talk about their previous life. I met one mataji who shared that her son, when he was just beginning to talk, he was sharing that he was a cow in his last life. And they had a family in their community that had 200 cows. And now they have only one cow left. And he was saying, I was a cow in his herd. And that's the field where I grazed, and that's the field where I left my body. He knew it all. But then as the kids get a little older, they forget. But just when they start speaking, they sometimes talk about this. So anyway, there has been some research, and people also get the point. There has been stories where one boy had a birthmark. Often the birthmarks look like gunshots, because people died through shots in war or crime or whatever. And this little kid remembered, yes, down the road there was this man who shot me. And then they tracked it all back, and indeed, there was a man down the road there. I think he even remembered his name or something. And they tracked it all back and found out, yes, it's true, there was a man who shot somebody. And one other interesting little detail. I saw some photos of Raghava, of Ratnavali Mataji, and this Indian lady who was serving in the kitchen. So, and when I saw these photos, I couldn't help but laughing to myself. So, why did I laugh? Huh? Come on.
Mixture of both.
Huh?
Her bodily features were mixture of both.
Very true. Ratnavali Mataji's features are a mixture of Raghava and that Indian Mataji. Yes, you could really see it. Oh yeah, eyes, nose of this person, chin, mouth of that person. Oh my God, you could see it. Yes, yes. So why does Ratnavali Mataji have some features of Raghava? Who can explain that? Why are Raghava's features in there, in your body now? Huh? Nobody knows? Come on.
Is attached to his own features?
Exactly, because we are all so attached to what we look like. Especially the face, that's what we identify the most with. Every day we look in the mirror, oh yes, I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, oh I'm getting old, you know, putting the tilak on, oh yeah, looking pretty good. With no other part of the body are we identifying more than with the face, right? The feet, oh, nobody worries so much about the feet, what they look like. Right? But the face, oh my God, that's me. You know? Yes. So that's why Ratnavali Mataji has some features of Raghava, but then also some features of this Mataji who he was averse to. Yes. So whatever features we all have here, this is not a coincidence. Yes, this is a mixture of our previous features and somebody else who we were attracted or averse to. That's how it goes. And sometimes children may look just like one of the parents, right? And usually we say it's the genes. But no, it's not the genes. If it was the genes, then every child would look like one of the parents. But it's not always like that. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You know, so it basically means there was some connection in previous life. They were attached to each other. And that's why they take birth in the same family. And even look similar. That's what it is. That's the spiritual explanation. The genes is nonsense. Yeah, so it's all pretty interesting. Yeah, so I mean the story with Raghava Ratnavali, I think it really has the power to shake us up a bit, you know, and make us understand. So time is ticking, we have to prepare. Yeah, we have to really use every moment of our life in a meaningful way, getting ready for this final test, where we are tested which relationship is most important to us. That's what we have to get ready, you know. And it's like preparing for an exam at the college or university. If you actually prepare, you know, you almost look forward to pass the exam because you feel strong enough and prepared to face it. And yeah, it's the same with death also. If we actually seriously prepare, you know, and especially as we get a little older, body is becoming more and more troublesome, and we already start looking forward to get out of here, especially as our relationship with Krishna is more deeply established. Yes, it's all about relationships. As that relationship becomes actual reality, then we will want to join him finally. Death is this glorious moment when we can get on the plane back home, back to Godhead. What's there to lament? I was thinking this also during the memorial celebrations. We are here lamenting, but he may already take lunch with Krishna and Balaram, and we are here lamenting, crying. Of course, we miss the person's association, but actually, when a devotee leaves, it's a joyful moment. It actually is. Especially if that person was a seriously full dedicated devotee, then it is a joyful moment of finally Krishna gives them a chance to join his eternal abode. My God, that's exciting, But we have to be serious to get ready. It's not a cheap thing. It's not a cheap thing to actually enter Goloka Vrindavan or even Vaikuntha. Not a cheap thing. We have to be serious. We have to be serious. Yeah, so non-devotee is fearless. And even the fact that we are not so fearless, that we actually are fearful of death, that directly shows that our relationship with Krishna is not deeply established yet. Proportionally to how our relationship is established, we lose our fear of death. Yes. And we are simply passing our time here in a meaningful way, making the relationship deeper, longing to one day go there and serve Krishna in personal association, and then when death knocks on the door with cancer or whatever, oh, joy, let's get ready, let's get out of here, Why wanting to stay here? No, Krishna has been waiting for us for so many lifetimes, Why not accept his invitation there? That's how a devotee sees it, Yes. So it's, and of course the very last point, the question, how do we prepare? What's the main and foremost way to prepare for death?
Constantly remembering Krishna.
Constantly remembering Krishna, what do you say?
Devotional service.
Well, which aspect of devotional service is targeting to reawaken the relationship? The chanting, yes. The chanting of the holy name. This is the foremost key. Yeah. Because Krishna is so merciful that he extends himself into the material world by giving us his holy name. And by chanting the holy name, we can directly associate with Krishna face to face. That's what the chanting is all about. But it's a whole deep science. If we just blabber something mechanically down, this will not do anything to the relationship. We actually have to mindfully, deeply in the heart, We have to turn to Krishna, feelingly call out to him, longing for the relationship. Krishna, I need you, please accept me. Longing. That will cultivate the relationship. Only that kind of chanting. If we just chant on the counter, running around, doing so many things, this will not do anything for the relationship with Krishna. And it's very simple and practical and logical that if we actually try 2 hours a day to turn to Krishna feelingly, calling out to him, longing for the relationship, something will happen in that relationship, right? Yes, it will become tangible reality. Krishna will show himself more. He reciprocates. Yes. You know? And that is the way how we awaken this lust of relationship. So this chanting, if we have anybody here who is not chanting yet, please immediately go to the shop and get yourself a set of beads and start this chanting. Because see, this is why Krishna gives us these earthquakes, somebody leaves, somebody near and dear to us leaves this world, or we get some calamity, some kind of earthquake happens. I mean, I had cancer 2 times, I mentioned it in the previous session. That was the best time of my life. Yes, because I see any calamity a devotee is facing can be turned around into a golden opportunity to take shelter of Krishna. That's immediately what I did with both of my cancer episodes. Wow, okay, Krishna. And then we feelingly call out to him helplessly in desperation. Prabhupada told us we should chant the holy name like a child, crying for his mother in helplessness. And it seems like only death has that power to make us feel a little helpless when death knocks on the door, either in our life or in somebody else's life. So that makes us feel a little helpless. And that's why these challenges and calamities are the biggest mercy of Krishna. Because he's trying to help us feel helpless. Yeah. That's the essence of all these calamities. Because only then we can actually feelingly approach Krishna and call out to him. And that kind of chanting develops the relationship. Yeah. So let us take all these calamities, Chau Prabhu, Agnidev Prabhu, so many others, are living around us. Yeah, in the coming years it will be more and more happening that our Prabhupada disciples will leave. There will be soon a time when there will be no more Prabhupada disciples on the planet. I will probably not experience this anymore, I hope. I won't hang around. I'm already kind of looking forward. I'm just passing my time here in some meaningful way and get a bit more purification, but yeah, I don't want to live until I'm 80 or 90. 75 is good enough for me. And that shows my astrology, I'm 68 this year, so 7.5 more years, and that's good enough. And I'm thinking of it every day. Every day. Not a single day goes by that I'm not thinking of this. And longing to join Krishna, and longing for the relationship and so on. Yeah, so let us take this opportunity, to really become more serious Actually, the best thing what we should pray for whenever a devotee is in danger, we should pray that whatever happens, he will remember Krishna. That is the highest level of protection, the remembrance. Yeah. Because the body, Krishna may protect, may not protect. Body will, deteriorate anyway. That's not what we pray for. We pray that whatever may happen, we want to remember Krishna. That's the highest level of protection. Yeah. Yes. That's a good point. And one more time, last time, I do want to bring the attention especially to this book, the Manifest Ashram Meeting, Death with Joy. So whatever we discussed, you will find in the book, and so much more. It's all in there, but there's so much more useful things about death. And if we confront ourselves with this topic, we realize, hey, it's not so bad. It's just, it's like going traveling. You sit at the departure lounge and you wait for your flight, and the flight is maybe a little delayed, and you're not quite sure where you're going and who will pick you up or something. But you're ready to get on board, boarding pass in the hand. Yes. Alright, so if anybody has some interest, I will be out there again at the book table, just in case. And day after tomorrow I'm leaving, so that was the last program. And I also want to thank you all for allowing me to visit. It was a nice experience. I enjoyed my time here and connected with quite a few devotees. I hope I get a chance to come back again sometime in the future. Any quick question or comment? Yes, please.
So the key here is attentive chanting. If you can leave some do's and don'ts.
It's too big topic. In the book about the false ego, there is a whole chapter on chanting. And if you want to get a deep experience, then please join the Holy Name Retreat in ISKCON, which I conduct every year over Christmas. ISKCON is about 3.5 hours from Mayapur. It's Lord Nityananda's birthplace. Anybody here has been to ISKCON? Nobody! Ooh. Huh? 3.5 hours from now. Very beautiful place, very nice village. Yes, and there's a big, beautiful ISKCON temple. So I rent the whole ISKCON accommodation. I have done it for 15 years every year. And it's a very sweet and deep experience. We stay there for 4 nights, 23rd to 27th of December. And all you have to do is register on my website and be in time in Mayapur. I arrange a bus, taking a whole group out to ISKCON. I arrange accommodation, prashadam, everything, even on donation basis. The actual expense comes to about 3,500 rupees, which is peanuts. It's not even $50 for 4 nights and nice rooms with attached bathroom, good prashadam, whole journey back and forwards. Yeah, and it's a life, many devotees share that this is a life-changing experience. Especially if you switch off your mobile phone for the whole time. Then you enter a different reality, I promise you. Yeah. And I had devotees, I had Prabhupada disciples there who shared in the final sharing. With tears in their eyes, they shared, I realized I haven't even started chanting the Holy Name. What I did for the last last 45 years was something else. It was not chanting the holy name, it was just some blabbering, some mechanical blabbering. Yes, yes. These kind of feedbacks I'm getting. Yeah, so please join it. It's a good time to escape the winter here and the whole Christmas madness. And come take a chakra. Yes. Yeah, so if you Google Devaki and Eka Chakra, you find my website. It's theholynameretreat.net. It's already all up. You can see all the details, daily program, photos, testimonials, link to register. It's already all open there. Would be a great honor and pleasure for me to receive you there and serve you. Okay, thank you so much.